So we are up to the second part of data. Jamie, what is it? Take your notes out, please. Now all of YouTube is going to hear. Close your laptop. Get your notes out. You need to write down stuff. Yeah, good. All right, so we're up to the second part of our data unit, which we started yesterday. Yeah. Does anyone remember what we learned about yesterday's class? Yes, Elisa. Different types of data. Very good. All right. Anyone want to tell me what are the two types of data that you work with normally? And numerical. Very good. All right. Thank you, Lisa. Can anyone tell me what are the subtypes for your categorical data?
Nominal and ordinal.
Good. What's the difference between both?
Ordinal is when it has an order, and nominal has no order.
No order. You're just telling me what's what. Okay. And what about numerical data? What's numerical data subtypes? It's great. And what was the other one? Starting with C, continuous. Good. What's the difference?
One's counting, one's measuring.
Good. One you count individually, and another one you're measuring something. Okay, so just remember the differences with both of those, because there's definitely going to be questions on it. Now, even though we've explored that a lot, it's just forming as a let's say a foundation of the data that we're working with. Yeah. So in today's session, we're going to now look at that data, okay, and try and see how it can be represented. Because there's no point in having data like you telling me what's what and what numbers you have if I can't make any sense of it. So one of the ways that they make sense of data, or you can make sense of data, is with a graph. Okay, we always, whenever you work with data, this is probably what I found in year 11, year 12, making a graph out of your data is like worth so many marks. So if you get good, okay, the word is get good. Okay, get good at making graphs. I think you'll be all right. You'll be able to, at the very minimum, maybe score about 60% on your SACs. Okay, because most of the time, graphs are what you aim for. Yeah, you want to represent the data a certain way. So what we're going to learn today, or our intention for today, is to be able to select and construct. So choosing and making an appropriate display for your data based on the data that you have. So if you have categorical data, there's a specific way of showing it. And if you have numerical data, there's also a specific way of showing it. Okay, so you got to know there's a difference between both. All right, and in terms of our success criteria, I want you to be able to hopefully distinguish and explain the types of graph that you work with. So you might be won't go into that yet. The types of graph best suited as well for categorical and numerical. So for now, we're just going to focus on categorical data and how do we display data that's representing something, that's describing something that might have an order. Okay, that's what we're going to look into, and obviously be able to draw and graph them. Okay, so that's what I hope for you guys to be able to do. Identify what kind of graph this is, choose the kind of graph you should use to display the data, and then draw that graph. Okay, really straightforward. All right. Displaying data. Okay, you can actually display data in so many ways. And believe it or not, everywhere you look, there's probably a display of data in here somewhere. Okay, can anyone show, or in this room, anyone find me a display of data somewhere? What's that? Oh, yes. What is it, Bella? A graph? Which graph am I looking at? Any of them? Good. Can you give me a specific one? Anything from the wall? Would you know the name of it? The big one. This one? Okay, what kind of graph do you think that might be? Starts with L. It's a line graph. Okay, why is it a line graph? Because there is a line. Okay, and it's probably talking about the trend over time. So you can see what's happening with the graph. It's going up. Yeah, it's going up. Give me one more graph that I'm seeing in this corner here. Anyone want to tell me? Another graph. Pi. I like pi. Where is the pi? There, the writing process. There's another graph of displaying data. Okay, it looks like that one is categorical data as well. Okay, it's words, yeah? But going back to this, data can be displayed in so many different ways. But the way you display it depends on the kind of data that you're working with. So for now, like I said, we're just going to focus on categorical. If you're working with categorical data, so you're describing something, there's an order to it, okay, and you're just nominating those sort of data, frequency tables are good. Okay, we'll look into what they look like. Bar charts is good, segmented bar chart as well is good, and dot plots. Now we're going to explore a little bit more of what they look like in in a few minutes, but just understand. Okay, for you guys, when you do these, that categorical data, this is what you normally will use. Okay, and then for numerical data, it's also different displays. Okay, so just be mindful. Try not to get them too mixed up. There are also some overlaps though, but for the most part, you'll see that they do have their own separate ones depending on the type of data. Like for example, numerical data is good for box plots, but you won't use it in categorical data. Okay, stem and leaf plots as well are good for numerical, but you wouldn't use it in categorical. In categorical data, however, you can see, okay, that bar charts are good for categories, but not so much in your numerical data. So there's a little bit of a difference. Just you can come back to this and see what kind of graph you should use to display data. Okay, so let's move forward. So here is some types for your categorical data. First one here is a frequency table. Okay, what's interesting about the frequency table, as you can see here, is it obviously lists out the frequency of certain data. For example, here, this looks like it's the degree, so what kind of certificate somebody got, depending on who they are. So it looks like 2 people got a high school degree, 7 people got a bachelor, 20 people got an MBA. I think that's baccalaureate. I actually don't know. 3 people have masters, 4 people have law, and 4 people have a PhD. Now on the bottom here, it's not listed here, but this here is the total. So put that in here. Okay, that's the total. So the frequency, when you add them all together, is the total down here. Okay, and another thing you need to include in a frequency table is the percentage. Okay, so this guy here, very important. You need to include the percentage. So when we talk about percentage, what we're saying is 2 people in high school out of 40, what is that as a percentage? Okay, so to get the percentage for all these numbers, it's basically the frequency for that divided by the total. Okay, so sorry, divided by the total. So in this manner, this would be 2 divided by 40 times 100, and it would give you 5%. For masters, okay, this one, it would be 3 divided by 40 times 100, which will give you 7.5%. Okay, so you need to include the percentage in these frequency tables. We'll go into more detail about that shortly. Let's see what else we got here. Oh, one more thing. Last thing. If this is the total, what would you put as a percentage down here? Anyone know? What could you put there? 100. Good. So all of this will equal 100%. Okay, so just keep that in mind when you do these. All right, let's move on to the next one. Dot plots are pretty straightforward. Okay, they're basically just dots representing how much of each of those values are. And notice how the data as well is categorical, because you're just telling me how many of each there is. Okay, so there's 1, 2, 3, 4, 8 popcorns, 4 pretzels, 5 M&Ms, 6 Twizzlers, and 3 Kit Kats. Okay, now with those numbers, you can't really use them to find mean, median, mode, because you're just telling me how much of each there is. Okay, so it's not really numerical, it's categorical still. What else we got here? Bar charts. I would say bar charts and dot plots are very similar. Okay, it's just that instead of dots, we use bars to represent the data. Okay, one thing to make a note of is just watch out for what's on the side here. I've seen percentage here before. So in this regard, it's frequency, so you tell me how many of each, but sometimes it could be percentage, so just be mindful of that. And also be mindful that there's gaps between the bars. So when you do a bar chart, don't join them together like that. Okay, or don't do this. Okay, don't draw those sort of bars. Yeah, you want to make sure that they are separate. Okay. And also, do we know what mode is? Really quickly, what does mode mean? Mode, it's there. What does that mean? Mode is what is it, Jordan? What is mode? Yeah, so the most recur. Yep, thank you. It's the most recurring number. Okay, so if you are translated to a bar, it's the one that has the highest bar because it's the most recurring. Okay. Lastly, segmented. Okay, over here, it's basically the same as your bars, but you got to sort of turn your head to the side a bit because each of these segments represent a different thing. For example, according to this, in below basic, there are 10% on that number. There's another 10% on that number, and over here makes up 80% of the data. Okay? Or for example, in this bar here, there's about 15% there. That's probably about 20%. And so the leftover will be 65% there. Okay, so just be mindful of how it's segmented. Each part of the segment represents a different thing, depending on the data again. It looks like here pros literacy activity level. Okay, so it's their literacy levels. Cool, cool, cool. All right, let's actually put some of this into practice and see how it all works. So let's start with a frequency table and a bar chart. Let's make these bad boys. So here you've got categorical data. Okay, you're not really recording anything apart from the names of the colors and maybe how often they appear. Okay, so it's categorical. There's no like mean, median, mode or anything like that. The actual number here doesn't necessarily mean much apart from how many of those appear. So let's make a frequency table. The first thing you need to do, okay, whenever you make a frequency table, is make sure your table looks like this. Yeah, really, really important. So I've done it here for you, obviously, but you have to have these things, three things. So you got to have whatever the items are, or whatever the categories are, the frequency you have to include, and the percentage frequency you also must include. What's one thing that's missing here, guys? Anyone know? The total. Always put the total. Okay, the total is going to be on the bottom. Always have to be there. And look, you know what? Even without putting the data in, what should be in this bottom right one here?
100%.
Always, it has to be 100%. Sometimes I've found though, if you're not rounding, your data might be like 99.7, 100.1. That's okay. That's fine. Just make sure you put 100% in there though. Okay. Oh. Okay. Let's put that in. Put a data in. So blue. How many blues do we have? Let's count them. I see. 1, 2, 3. Okay. 3 blues. Cool. How many reds? Let's count the reds. I see 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Notice as well how I am crossing out as I go so that it doesn't get confusing with what's left over. And then yellow, I've got 1, 2. Okay, there it is. Easy. Total. So in the total for the frequency, make sure you add up all of this. So that should total to 10. Okay, so 10 in total. Now the percentage frequency. So remember when you do the percentage frequency, it's the frequency divided by the total times 100. Okay, and that will give you the percentage frequency. So that should be 30%. Okay, so same thing in red. It's the frequency divided by the total times 100, which will be 50%. And then in yellow, the frequency divided by total times 100. And what you'll notice is if you've done it all correctly, all of this should add up to 100%. Should. Okay, technically should. Okay, and now we do the bar. Okay, let's do the bar. So for blue, let's see the first one there. In blue, I can see you've got a frequency of 3. Again, just watch out for what they put here because sometimes it could be percentage. So if it's percentage, then you're referring to the percentage to draw as a bar instead of the frequency. Okay, I've seen it a couple times, so just be mindful of it. This case, it's easy. So we're doing the bar charts for blue. So just basic frequency bar chart. So 3 for blue. Red has 5. Remember, what do we call the one that is the most frequent, starting with M? The mode, good. So it's the one that's got the biggest bar. And then yellow has 2. If you want to be fancy, you can color it in, that's fine. But not mandatory. Okay, you can just make it nice and clear if you want to. Okay, and there's your basic bar chart. So that's how you translate frequency table to the bar chart. Just be mindful again, sometimes they will use percentage here. So that means you need to record then the percentage frequency instead. But apart from that, nothing too crazy. All right, I'm going to move on. Any questions so far? No, okay. Easy, easy. Okay, let's do a segmented bar chart then. So this is 2 parts, a segmented bar chart. All right, so remember it's a segmented bar chart, looks like this. Okay, each one is a different thing, each of these segments. Okay, so let's start with the colors here. So I can see there's colors, blue, red, and yellow again. Now we need to draw the segmented bar chart for it. Let's start with blue. Okay, so with blue, I see there's 1, 2, 3. Okay, so that means my bar for blue will go up to 3. Try and be as accurate as you can. Segmented bar charts can be a bit tricky to do. So this is blue. And if you want, you can be fancy and say, that's blue. So there's 3 for blue, and it's 3 because it lines up there. That's 3. Red. Okay, how many reds do we have? I see 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So that means in terms of a value, if we're at 3 here, okay, I need to go and make sure I put in 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 reds. So that means I've got to go up to 8. Okay, because this represents from here to here is a value of 5. Okay, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Okay, do you guys see that? There's a value of 5 reds in there. So that means that's red. Okay, and then the last one is yellow. So for yellow, I see 1, 2. Okay, so from yellow, we're at 8 at the moment. So I need to add another 2 for yellow. Okay, and there's my segmented bar chart. Okay, so that's translating it from that the frequency to a bar chart into a segmented bar chart. What you'll notice as well is all I've done is I've basically just stacked this on top of one another. That's it. Okay, that's all it is. And now the last one is draw a dot plot. Okay, so for your dot plot, what you want to do is draw a line like that. Just a horizontal line. Really easy. And then on the bottom, let me make this a bit more straight. On the bottom, you want to write your variables. So you've got blue, red, and yellow. So blue, then you've got red, and then you've got yellow. Okay, and it's a dot plot. So all you're doing is you're just drawing dots of how many of each. So for blue, I know that there's 3 based on my values here for my segmented. So 1, 2, 3. For red, I know there was 5 because it says this is from 3 all the way to 8. So that should be 5 values. So 5 dots. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. And then for yellow, I have 2. So 1, 2. That's it. Okay, you don't really need to do too much apart from maybe the question might ask you which is the modal category. Then you tell me, oh, it's red. Red is the one that appears the most. Cool. Let's see. Let me see how far we're going to go with this. Okay. Oh. All right. So next part. So that's for your numerical categorical data. Okay. Any questions so far? Okay. Pretty straightforward. Nothing too crazy yet. Okay. Most of your categorical data, I think you probably would have learnt about in your previous years. Okay. All right. Let's do numerical data now. Okay. And then from there, we'll go off and I don't think we'll do this one. Where is it? Yeah, we won't do this unless you really want to. Okay, we'll see. All right, let's just look into the numerical. So for numerical data, remember there is some overlap with numerical categorical. Numerical data, you can also use a frequency table. Notice, however, with the frequency table of numerical, there are intervals now. So it's not just solid, this is this, like as in apple, banana, orange. Okay, with numerical data, because you're working with numbers, there is a range here. Okay, so does anyone know what this means? Zero dash, and then that's it. Say again? Yeah, 0 to whatever. But what is that whatever? Ooh, not quite. 9. Why 9, Gabby?
10 starts the next one.
Good. 10 starts in the next one. Okay. So what that means is if you have 10 here and you have a value that's number 10, it might appear twice on the frequency table. You don't want that. You don't want any overlap when you do the intervals. So you read this 0 to 9. What would this be? 10 to what? 19. Good. Not 20 because 20 is the next one. So 22, 29, 32, 39. And in the very last one, you can afford to go 40 to 50 if, depending on the data, it ends there. Okay, but just be mindful of how you read these. Okay, it's really important. And the total and the frequency is the same deal. So yeah, the total and the percentage, it's the same way of calculating. All right, dot plots. Yes, we've worked with them before. That's fine. Easy. It's the same thing as categorical. It's just instead of categories, it's numbers. Okay, how often do certain numbers appear? Stem and leaf plots, I don't think there's a slide here that covers it. So we won't go, oh no, there is one, okay? All right, we'll do that. Stem and leaf plot looks like this. Again, you may have learnt it back in year 9 or earlier in year 8. This here, the stem, forms the first number of your, whatever the number is. So for example, 0 here, okay, is the tens value, and that's the number 1. So the way you would read this, 0, 1, that's the number 1. 0, 3 is the number 3. 1, 2, you'd read it as 12. 1, 5, 15. Okay? And I know that because of this. There's what we call a key. So we'll go into more detail as we do these questions. What else do we got here? Box plots. We're going to explore a little bit more of that as we go, so I'm going to skip that. Histograms, okay, is the one thing that you do need to know how to draw. Notice how it's different to a bar chart, okay? Bar charts, you've got gaps in between, and it's categorical, remember? And it's so that means it's individual data. But when you're working with histograms, okay, there's no gap. That's because if you relate it back to the frequency table, there is a range. So this is 0 to 9. Okay, you'd read it as 0 to 9. So that means, for example, this is a bad bar chart, but let's say this data might be referring to 0 to 9. This would be 10 to 20. We'll go into more detail, but just be mindful that there is no gaps in a histogram. Okay. And watch out for your numbers as well when you do these, okay? We'll put it to practice so you guys can see what we're doing. All right, let's do this. It's already filled it out for you. Well, that's great. Okay, cool. But actually, they should have not filled it for you. Do we understand how to fill this in though, or do you want me to go through it? Yeah, you understand? So why is it from 0 to 9 that there's 2? Okay, tell me, anyone know why? Tell me why. There's 2 numbers, yeah? There's 2 numbers that are between 0 and 9. From 10 to 19, there are 5 numbers, yeah? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. 5 numbers. 20 to 29, 1, 2, 3, 4, 4. And then from 30 to 40, you've got the rest of it, 4. Easy, okay? Not hard. And then again, don't forget to put the percentage and the percentage frequency there. Let's translate this to a histogram. Okay, histogram. All right, so histogram, you've got 2 axes. The y-axis and the x-axis. Okay, so draw that for me. Give yourself space. You want to make sure you can draw everything in here. All right, so from there on the axis, what you want to put down here on the x-axis, so down here is the, oops, ooh, what did I do? Why did it move? Okay. On the x-axis, you want to put in the class intervals, this. So if this is 0, you'll go 10, 20, 30, 40, 50. Okay, that's what you start with, intervals. So I'll just even put here the interval. Okay, and then on the y-axis here, you want to put in the frequency. So according to this, it goes, the lowest is 2, and the highest is 5. I might just go up by 1. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Okay, easy. All right, and now we draw the histogram. Okay, the bars in the histogram, remember, no gaps, because you're working with ranges here. So for 0 to 9, I can see there's a frequency of 2, so my bar will go up to 2. Remember, you read this as 0 to 9, not 0 to 10. The next, and what I do find is if you do color it in, it is a little bit helpful if you do that. It's just a little bit easier to read. And if you want to, you could do different colors. That might make it easier to read as well, but we're not going to do that here. So from 10 to 19, there is 5. So make sure your bar goes all the way up there. I know some kids do this as well. They use different colors like this. So it really highlights the bar so you can actually see it. And then color it in. Okay, that's fine. 20 to 29, there's 4. Okay, so let's put that in. Okay, there's 4. And then 30 to 40 is also 4. So that'll be here as well. Okay, and that's it. Color it in. Make it look fancy. I know what some people do as well in year 11. I've seen them do this. They also put the frequency on top. So here, they put the number 2. So they know that this bar goes up to 2. Okay? Or here they'll put the number 5. Here they put 4 and 4. You can do that as well, just to make it really obvious that the bar goes up to that. Okay, and that's it. That's it for your frequency tables and histograms. Okay, let's do a couple more, and then we'll get into it. Yeah, we won't do that one. Okay, cool. Stem and leaf plots. Okay, let's do this one. Let's do the stem and leaf plot here. So you've got data there. There's your data. Let's put it into a stem and leaf plot. So remember, your stem and leaf plot has to look like this. A bit shorter. Thank you. Okay. And then on the left is the first of your values, so the stem and leaf. So for example, I want to ask a few of you guys. Let's see, Jordan, what number is this? The one that I just circled. 9. Okay, so how would I represent that in my stem and leaf plot? 0, 9, okay, because the first number in front of 9 is 0, okay? So you'd say 0 and then 9, okay? And I'm gonna keep going. So I've done the number 9, cool. I've got another number 9, okay? So that means there's another 0, 9 there, right there. Okay, the next value I can see is the number 10. How would I represent that on my stem and leaf plot? Anyone want to tell me? Yes, Jamie. Then 1 on the stem and then 0 for the leaf. Thank you. So that means this 0 is the number 10. So that's 1. The next one is, I've got 3 18. So I'm going to put 3 8s there. 1, 2, 3. And then I've got the number 19. Easy. Okay, next one. Let's go with 20. Okay, how do I represent 20? Same as 19. It's going to be 1 9, but in this case it's 2 0. Yes. Now you start with the next line, 2. Okay, so 2 0. And I can see there's a 25, there's a 27, and another 27. Now, one thing I did forget to mention is with a stem and leaf plot, make sure your numbers are in numerical order. Okay, in numerical order. One thing you don't want to do, so don't do this. You might go 0, 9, 9, and then you might go 2, 1, 2, 3, I don't know, 1. Okay, I've seen this done before. Do not do this. Also, do not do this either. Don't go, okay, don't go putting this in like 20 and then 9 and then 5 and then 6. Because you're telling me it's 20, 29, 25, 26. That's wrong. It's got to be in numerical order. Okay, so do not do that. Has to be in order. So double check that when you do these questions. All right, next one. Let's do yellow. Let's do the 30. So 33. Sorry. Okay, 35. 37. Oops. Okay, and then the last one is 40. So 40 and then just 0. There. Okay, so there's my stem and leaf plot. Really easy. Now the dot plot for this is a little bit trickier in that you can't, when you do this, what you don't want to do, so I remember when I told you to do the dot plot for the previous question, that was pretty easy. You just do your line, might take up all of this. Let's just do it here for question B, guys, and then we'll do C down here somewhere. So draw your line. Okay, what you don't want to do, okay, is don't do this. For a stem and leaf plot like this, don't go 0, 1, 2, 3, 4. And I've seen some people do this. So in 0, they'll go, oh yeah, there's 2 because I see 2 numbers there. And in 1, oh yeah, there's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Okay, then they'll put 5 dots. Okay, don't do that. Okay, what you want to do in a stem and leaf plot, the proper way of doing it, okay, look at your numbers. It starts at 9 and ends at 40. So you have to include all of those numbers from 9 to 40. So what I like to do is I might go, for example, I might go up by 5s on my graph. I'll go up by 10s. So if I do this properly, okay, let's fix that up. If I go up by 5s, I'll go 5, 10, 15, 20, 25, 30, 35, 40. Okay, and then I put the dots in the spot that they go through in my dot plot. So for example, the first one is 9. So that means I need to have 2 dots where 9 is. 9 is about here. So 1, 2. I'll zoom in a bit. Okay, make sure you do it this way. Do not do it that other way. I've seen your 11s do it. It's really funny. And they fail. Next one you've got, okay, you've got a 10. And then you've got 3 18s. So 18 will be about here. 1, 2, 3. Oops. Oh, isn't it erasing? And then you've got 119. Cool. And then the next one, I'm doing the 20s. So I see it 120. And then there's a 25. And there's 227. So that might be about here. 1, 2. And then the 30s. So I see a 33, which is probably about here. 1. And then there's a 35. And then there's a 37. Okay, and then the last one, 40. Okay, so that's how the dot plot should look like, not that other way. So make sure you draw all your numbers, and then you put a dot of where the numbers will be. And then the median. Actually, does anyone know what the median is? We'll explore it a little bit more later, but yes. Middle number. How do you find the middle number? Oh. If you have a lot of numbers, how do you find the middle number? Yes, Jonathan. Yeah, Jonathan first. Ooh, not quite. That's kind of like the mean. Jordan. Yep, which we've done here. Good. Yeah, so what Jordan's saying is you go 1 by 1, go that way until you get to the middle. That's one way too. Did you have another way? No? Okay, let me give you a cheat way. Really easy of finding the median, sorry. Okay, this is a formula that you can use. It's called n plus 1 divided by 2. What this is saying is it's the position of the median. So put that here, position of median. I don't know if you've learned this before, But this is what we teach in year 11. So you're getting a free lesson on how to do this real quick. Position of the median. So it's not telling you what the median is, it's telling you where it is. So once you've put the number in order, as what Jordan has mentioned, this n, all you got to do is n plus 1 divided by 2. N plus 1 means how many numbers there are plus 1, and then you divide it by 2. So according to this, I see 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15. So it's going to be 15 plus 1 divided by 2, which equals 16 over 2, which is 8. So the 8th number is the median. So if I count 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, there it is. Okay, now it might look like that does take a little bit of, you got a formula. So why would you use a formula if you only have 5 numbers, for example, or 10 numbers? That's easy enough. Let me write it here for real quick. So the median is 20. Okay. Now this is actually only good if you have a lot of numbers. Like say if you have like 35 numbers, how are you going to find the middle number? If you have 50 numbers, okay, it might take you a while. So generally speaking, this is only good if you have a lot of numbers that you're working with. If you like working with maybe 10 or 6 numbers, that's pretty easy. Okay, but if it's more than that, then it might be worth using this formula. Okay, so just keep that in mind when you are trying to find the median. Okay, box plots, next one. We won't look into it in too much detail. That's fine. But yeah, okay. Now I didn't print the worksheet, so I'm going to do that shortly. Apologies.